Can you guys hear me all right? Do I have to turn it up or down? Probably turn the music down a bit. Is the audio all right? I can turn my mic up or music down. I don't really have a way of testing it myself. All right. So today, well, let me go back a little bit. So I moved back to the U.S. and Pasha is still in Belgium at the moment. Um, I won't get into why I exactly moved over here, but long story short, Tater and Gilbert are going to be shipped over here, and we have two 40-gallon breeder tanks. That's about 160 liters each, waiting for them. It's about the same size that Tater is in right now, just different dimensions. They're a bit deeper and a little bit less wide than Tater's tank. So I think it's about 40 breeder has like standard inches dimensions. Not sure what they are to be exact off the top of my head, but Tater's tank right now is 100 centimeters by 40 centimeters deep. And this one is, I believe, about 50 centimeters deep and about 90 centimeters wide, roughly the same height. So for Gilbert's nice because it's going to be about 10 gallons bigger. Tater, it's the exact same measurements, but he's going to get a little bit more depth. I guess it doesn't really matter. It's going to be the same surface area, roughly. You'll just have a little bit more depth to his tank than lengthwise. So what my idea was here was to use this game, because you can escape your own tank in it. It's actually a pretty neat game. I stumbled upon it about 2 months ago or so. But the idea was to scape a tank for Tater, which you guys saw, and feel free to put, give some input on this. And we'll kind of try to design a new tank for Tater, and then I'll try to replicate it in real life. Now, there's a couple things we need to keep in mind. Tater does need a deep sand bed because he likes to dig, as we all know. Second thing is we kind of have to keep it open, of course, for him to dig. So it's not like there's going to be rocks and twigs everywhere, like how we have the tank set up right now. The back 1/3 is filled with plants, rocks, and wood, so he still has 70% of the tank to dig into. I was kind of thinking, I guess I'll show it a little bit what I was thinking of doing. But one more thing we have to keep in mind, of course, is areas for cameras to go. So Nafru, who's in chat right now, he took this idea I had and actually was able to create it. So hopefully one day I'll be able to buy the materials for that as well and build one, and that's a camera slider that can go in front of the tank. So that way the camera can move left or right along the length of the tank. So if Tater moves, you can, press in a position in chat, just like how you would switch the cameras, and then the camera will move left or right. And then hopefully Tater can be in screen again, especially if me and Pasha are not available at the moment. That way you can kind of find Tater again and hopefully put him back in screen. So that's something we would like to implement in the future. So big thanks to Nafru for, I don't know how he did it, but he was able to do it. The camera slider is actually, let me do a shout out real quick. The camera slider is actually available on Marla's stream. I'm not sure if are you guys streaming the fishies still? Or is it mostly just the bees? Why did the show not work? Okay, it's not. Well, maybe in the future you'll see it, or sometimes on Nafru's stream you'll see it, and in the future hopefully on our stream as well. But that's another thing to keep in mind is camera placement, because I would like to have one on the side still, like we have right now, that kind of does like the length of the tank, and then one with the camera slider that will look into a tank from the front of the tank. So we can't really place anything on one side of the tank and along the front side. And then most of the decorations will have to go in one of the corners along the back side. So let's see. It has been streamed for Fish Summer. Can you stay? That's fine. Take your time, Nafru. All right. let's get into it. I believe I gotta go here. I already designed a pea puffer escape ones in here just to test it out. All right, gonna create a new tank. We'll just do casual. Now I have to kind of figure out what a 40 breeder would look like. Guess that's probably roughly the size. What's the shell one look like? That's probably closer to this one. Oh, you can check out now for his stream. Let's see. I don't know why my shadow was not working. Go check out his stream. He has a slider on there, and you can use the redemption points just like how you do Tater Hug, and the camera switches on his channel, and then you can move the camera left or right on his Neon Tetra and Shrimp tank. Yeah, it's a pretty big tank. It's I think about 50 centimeters by 90 centimeters and roughly 40 or 45 high. It's actually, I think it's closer to 160 liters, 40 gallons, a little bit below that even. Let's call it Tater's new tank. All right. Guess we're gonna start with the sand and kind of build it up in layers a little bit. I believe you were able to buy some different kinds of sand color-wise. Gravel and sand. Oh, did not mean to pick that. Not sure if I want to go black sand again, or maybe try to find something more brown oranges for Tater to blend into, even though his colors do seem fine on his skin. He blends in, well, he doesn't really blend that well with the black sands he did with the white sand. What do you guys think? Do like a clay type of color? We can always just like switch the colors just to see what it will look like in general. I believe you can just like level it up and then put the rest of the decorations in, and then we just change color to see which one looks better. All right, let's try some more darker brown sand. So we have to, we'll just make this the front of the tank for this stream. And then this will be the back. So first we gotta create a little bit of depth to it. Oh, you know what? I forgot to do one thing. Give me 1 second here. Because technically we're in the wrong category now. So let me change the stream category real quick. All right, there we go. Was I able to make this? I don't think I can make this circle bigger. Maybe that's a little deep, but you get the idea, I think. And they do have some puffer fish in this game, but they do not have a potato puffer. So unfortunately we can't add a potato puffer to the game and pretend like it's Tater in here. Try to speed this up a little bit. Now, what I generally like to do is make the back side of the tank a little bit higher than the front with sand. Creates a little bit more sense of depth in the tank if the back is a little bit higher and slopes up. The only thing we have to watch out with is Tater probably won't be digging here much, and with sand you kind of have to watch out that you don't cause any, or that you don't build up any anaerobic pockets in the sand. In Tater's tank right now we have a pretty coarse sand in the back, so it's less likely to happen, and we just capped it off with the black sand that he has right now that lays on top of it. But sometimes while cleaning I'll stick a spoon in there or something and kind of stir it up a little bit so the buildup isn't too bad. I need to make this a little bit more gradual. Wait, sorry. I'm no Tater Puffer. They actually have a pretty cool Discord community. This game and the game developers, and they do tend to listen to what people are asking for. So maybe I can put in a request for a potato puffer. Yeah, we can go to the store real quick. I think they have like 2 or 3 puffers in here. I believe they're also looking at more at newer designs for the fish to make them a little bit. So this is the pea puffer. It's a well, you already call it a Malabar puffer. It's just one of the nicknames for a pea puffer. We just call them pea puffers. And no worries, pee me away. Then we have an Amazon puffer. That's also a freshwater puffer from South America, Amazon River. They typically like to be in groups, and they get a little bit bigger than a pea puffer, but smaller than what Gilbert is. I believe there was one more puffer in here. Right there. Green spot puffer. This technically is a brackish puffer. More lower end than what Gilbert would see typically. But technically these are not 100% freshwater puffers. They typically are at the end of the river where the river meets the ocean. You get a bit of brackish water there. They kind of, these actually get confused a lot with Gilbert, except they have more rounded spots all over their body, and Gilbert has like some elongated spots along the top of his back, especially towards his head. That's not what I meant to do. Alright, let's shape this up a little bit more. So what I was kind of thinking is the camera is going to be on the front side right here. And it's going to be a slider, so hopefully we can have like a couple positions, 3 to 5 or so, where the camera can be set. So it'll be probably one here, so you can see this area, and then, well, let's say there's 3. Probably have it right here, so you can see this area. Probably have one here, so you can see this area, and have one right here that can see this area. And that way the camera can slide left to right, and we don't have to pick it up and cause motion sickness to the people watching. And then the other camera, depending on how we'll do it, currently if this is the front of the tank, our camera sits right here facing this way. So it doesn't really matter if it's going to be on this side and faces that way, or this side faces this way, but just for simplicity I figured we'll just pretend like one of the cameras will sit here, and then this will be the rest of the tank. So Tater's tank right now, all the plants are along the back side right here with rocks, and there's some driftwood, not a whole lot. There's a couple pieces, especially in this corner right here. And I was kind of thinking of maybe leaving this more open than what the current tank is, and then kind of build up a kind of like a corner island right here that will have rocks, maybe some driftwood, and then lots and lots of plants. And then maybe some different type of plants. Right now we only have anubias really in there, and there's like one big crypt still in there. and that takes up the majority of the plants. So I guess we can kind of start scaping now. Probably start with hardscape. Hardscape is rocks and wood. So we got a big list of rocks here. This is, yeah, this is kind of the rock that we have in there right now. It's really dark, and then it has like white, kind of like marbling in it. Just not as much as marble, but there's some white lines in there, depending on where the cracks are and I guess how they broke the stone. That's like super marbled. I believe they just added some new rocks as well. Does it say new on there? No. I'm not sure what they added new though. Hey, thank you for the resub. 2 months. So in the wild, Tater does try to mimic stones. I'm not sure if that's why Tater likes to lay more towards the back of the tank right now, next to the rocks, and he's just trying to blend in with the rocks. I've seen other potato puffers online do it more so, and especially with trying to blend in. Tater doesn't get much more darker than his deep orange, so maybe that's why you just don't see it that he's trying to mimic it, because he doesn't really turn completely dark brown or black, and the rocks are black. So I was kind of thinking maybe doing like a lighter color rock this time, just to be able to see if he would change color and lay next to a rock to pretend like he is a rock. I guess there's only one way to find out, and that's by lining up the color of the rock instead of having a dark black rock, and see if he, if he maybe in the front of the tank he'd be as deep orange, and then if he goes next to a rock that maybe it turns a little bit more pale like he used to be on the white sand. Granite. I guess it doesn't matter what kind of stone it is, we can figure that out later. But let's pick something that has variety, because you can't really, once you pick the stone, you can't change the shape of it or anything. These are just all the stones you have to work with. So these are, yeah, we can probably just use these granite rocks. Gives us 3 options, or no, even more, 6 options. We can kind of play around. Okay, that's really big. So yeah, I was thinking of kind of making an island here. So kind of a wall of rocks. Let's start in the back right here. Try and make this rock a little bit longer. Maybe turn around. So that'll cover about a quarter of his tank and gives him still about 70% or 75% area for digging. It should be plenty. Actually, you know what? It would be kind of cool just to have a couple random rocks, but they'd probably be over here more, where you can like kind of lay next to him and pretend like he's a rock instead of having a wall of rocks, which was what was I thinking originally. I also don't want to put a rock right here and then he can kind of like hide behind it and be out the side of the camera. Trying to avoid that as much as possible. So I'm not sure. Right now I think we have like 1 rock here in the tank he's in right now. 1 rock here, 1 here, and then we have like 3 or 4 over here. So I guess this is almost turning out exactly the same as what we have, so let's change that up. Maybe we can do like 2 islands, like I have a couple rocks right here with the plants behind, and we can do the same right there, so it'll be more symmetrical. Okay, how do I? Okay, so it's got pull it. There, let's grab another rock. This one's kind of cool. Like how it's slanted like that. Maybe have the rocks kind of lean in so they all point towards the middle. Maybe that would be cool. Dizzy Tater. Okay, that's really large. Maybe something like that, but then I kind of want to choose this one too. It's kind of hard to rotate these rocks. Doesn't feel natural in this game, to be honest. Does this one have a slant to it? Not really. And probably like a smaller, even a smaller rock right there just to kind of fill in that gap. Or maybe we can just fill that in with some branches or some sort of driftwood. Let's do the other side real quick. Yeah, you don't want to throw rocks. Don't need to break ticks here. I feel these rocks are so large in this game. That would be cool, but that would take too much space. Guess that rock back there is leaning pretty hard. Let's just pretend like that's let me see if I can straighten it out actually. Nope. Guess not. I think we used 2 on the first rock, and then we used 5 on the second rock on the left, and then this one was just used over there. Actually, no, that's the same one. That looks identical. Let's try a different one. Don't like that here. That looks too much like the first rock that's over there. Now there's this kind of unspoken rule with aquascaping, and that is don't use even number amounts of hardscape, I guess. They say use, in this case 5 rocks instead of 4. So let's just, I guess, put like a fifth rock somewhere. Maybe once I can have three, the other side I can have two, so it's a little bit more natural looking instead of so symmetrical. I'll do like a smaller rock that's kind of like a that breaks up this space right here. Nope, I did not mean to grab you. Oh, how did I rotate it? Oh, okay. And then you can rotate with right mouse click. All right. You just give up if it didn't work. Yeah, I guess I have some patience with this kind of stuff. It's actually not too bad. Just rotating those rocks is kind of awkward. I guess with the right mouse click now that feels more natural, but using your WASD keys doesn't feel natural how you rotate the rock. I just have to kind of think about it harder and harder because it's not doing exactly what I want to do. All right, now we can add maybe some driftwood that kind of maybe mimics like kind of like two trees coming into the water or something like that, or kind of like bunches of like some twigs that kind of like hang out. Don't want to create any like crazy pokey surface stuff for Tater to bump into, since you guys all know he's not really the best swimmer. Don't tell him that. Don't really have that many options. Bogwood. Now the wood I'm not really too worried about because if they have sharp edges, you can kind of grind them down into nubbies with like a hand file or something else, so they're not too pokey. That's actually kind of cool, but not sure if that'll fit what I was imagining. All right, I have to figure something out here. I have my laptop running for the Twitch chat so I can see what you guys are saying, but my battery's about to die, and I don't have a plug yet for the American sockets for my laptop. I can't really charge it. Well, let me see if I can pull it up on my phone and see it that way. 1 second. Alright, I got chat now on my phone. Should be able to see it now. Kind of wish I had more options for wood. Let's see what we can do with this. Okay, so I can't use right mouse click now, so I gotta place it first, I think. Does wood stay good if it's underwater? Depends on the wood. So there's definitely plenty of woods that get used in aquariums a lot, like manzanita wood, driftwood, bogwood, spiderwood, just to name a few. I think there's even some kind of looks like a well, I wouldn't say honeycomb structure, but it's kind of like intertwined, and I think that comes from a cactus as well. Forgot what the name of it is. But most of those woods do stay good for a while in aquariums. You do have to let them soak a bit so they can sink, or so just drift around in your tank. And new wood, especially, will also release tannins in the water. And tannins basically, it's not per se bad, but a lot of people don't like the look because it looks like you put a bunch of tea bags in your aquarium and it has like that kind of brownish tint to it. That's typically what you see in rivers too. Is a lot of tannins from all the leaves and all the branches and trees that fall into the water and release that into the water. Um, it can kind of change water parameters. So in the Amazon, there's typically a lot of tannins, and that's why South American cichlids and fish typically thrive in lower pH waters. And I guess that is not true for African fish typically because they have a lot more harder pH water. So tater comes out of the Congo River, and on top of my head, I think it's around 7 to 8 pH, so just above alkalinity, or a little bit alkaline over the neutral 7.0. Whereas like I bet a fish would prefer like a lower pH that's like 6 or maybe even a little bit lower. But what does stay doesn't deteriorate that fast. I mean, we've had the wooden taters tank for 3 years and it still looks the same, honestly. And we boiled it to get all the tannins out, so it wouldn't turn the color of the water brown. Okay. Let's see what we can do with this wood. I'm not sure what I'm doing with this piece of wood. Just thought maybe like it can kind of poke out between the rungs. I feel like it needs to be bigger for that though. No, that's as large as it gets. Maybe a little bit more. Okay, now I'm kind of struggling with this piece of wood. Let's move it there. I kind of want the angle up more. Why is it not doing what I want it to do? I don't know. It just kind of looks out of place. Maybe we can do something else with this piece of wood because it doesn't look like it would make a nice little bridge or archway. Maybe let it kind of come over the rock right there. Okay, it's not rotating how I want to. There we go. I wish the game was also not so strict with where you can place it, because if it's orange, technically I'm hitting something, and obviously in real life that wouldn't work, but for the game's sake, I would like it to be able to place it and, you know, you can kind of make it in real life. You can find a way to place it where it still looks the same. But it won't even let me place it here. Oh, I just saw somewhere it'll let me. No, that looks out of place. Okay, maybe we just get rid of this piece of wood. also wish this game would let you stack stuff. So I want to put a rock on top of this, you would not be able to do that because it would, you know, make it orange. You can see right here. Might have to make that piece a little bit smaller. I mean, if you want to buy this game, I don't think it was even that much. I think it was like $10 or something on Steam. You can find it on Steam. It's called Aquarium Designer. It is a cool game though. I think it has a lot of potential. I'm not sure how long it's been released, but I know they're still creating content for it. I think they came out with some new rocks a couple days ago. And I think they're coming out with a saltwater DLC real soon as well. Let's see if we can make that a little bit larger. I was kind of thinking like maybe a couple more branches. I won't be able to replicate that in game. So it kind of looks like maybe like a little tree that sits over there. We'll kind of do the same here. But let's reverse it so it doesn't really look too similar. And maybe we can put like another piece of wood in there. Depending how, well, this piece looks a little big. I'm so bad at rotating these pieces. Okay, move that back a little bit, and hopefully I can put this piece. That's completely shadowed over by that rock. Hold on. Maybe we can move this one forward. Put this one behind. No, these are really pointy. I would probably not do this in Tater Seal Tank. Stumps like that, and that looks fine. But this looks way too pointy for him to bump into and hurt himself. Alright, maybe fill this a little bit more in with sand. Create a little bit more illusion of depth in the tank. Maybe you can place one more rock, like a small one, like right here, just to kind of make it a little bit less symmetrical, even more so. And this is going to be a more rounded rock. I feel like I might need to put one here as well. Let's rotate it a bit so it looks different. The idea is that he won't really go behind here, but that can be done with lots of plants. Since Tater, well, he personally likes to swim more in the open. Other pufferfish that are like tater, I've seen they'll like nap, or well, I wouldn't say nap, but they would sit on branches and leaves and stuff. Tater tried to do that once, but that plant that was a crypt, I think it was a cryptotreme, was not strong enough to hold his weight, so he kind of just fell through it, and I've never seen him try ever since. All right, I think we can add some plants now. Filter wise, I don't think they have really external filters. I think these are all internal. Yeah, what I'd like to have is the same type of filter I have on this tank right now, which is a canister filter. So we'll probably do the inlet over here and also the outlet, preferably. If not, outlet over here, inlet over here. You don't really see them on stream. Well, this one you can sometimes see. The inlet is like a little pipe that comes down with a strainer on it. Or sorry, that's the it's the inlet to the filter. Just like a pipe that comes down and a hose that goes along the backside of the tank, and the filter sits below in the cabinet below. And then another hose comes up right here, and it has like a little outlet right here that creates a lot of surface agitation, so the water has some movement to it. Do we have to go to work to make more money? Yeah, well, in this mode that I'm in right now, you have unlimited money. So you're right; these things do cost money in a game. They also have a campaign that has like kind of like missions. Um, so they're kind of like a storyline to it. So let's say Bob comes to you and wants an aquarium, and he has like a couple of things he wants in his aquarium. So let's say he wants like 2 red fish, 1 blue fish, uneven amount of plants, and this specific type of rock. Then you're up to your own imagination can create a tank and try to. They typically also give you a budget in the campaign, and then you kind of can do that mission and kind of play around and kind of make your own design that can meet those requirements and stay under budget. But I don't think there's actually like a earning thing. It's more like a price cap for those missions, or you can just kind of like figure it out yourself. But I'm not sure how representative it is of real life. Depending on where you are, of course, stuff can be more expensive. Like let's grab a pea puffer for example. See, here they're $6, which is actually, from what I found here in the U.S. in the Midwest, they are about $6 a piece. But in Belgium, they were only about $3 a piece, so it's a completely different price for that same species of fish. All right, let's look at plants. Now, Tater's tank, I don't like to use floating plants. Um, the roots kind of freak him out when he swims into them, which I kind of understand. Especially like this Amazon frog bed, we have that in the peep over tank, and the roots become really long. Almost, you will see them in the stream sometimes reaching the ground from the top of the surface of the water. So that's about 1 foot, 30 centimeters of root growth. So they grow really long roots, and they do not like high flow. And in Tater's tank, I do try to get as much flow across the top of the tank. They create a lot of oxygenation. He is from a river that has a lot of oxygenation from rapids and waterfalls and stuff like that. So I try to kind of replicate that and not have the top be sitting still, because air exchange from putting air back into the aquarium. Give me 1 second. Sorry, I had the cough. Air exchange happens from water movement. So those air bubblers you see, they don't actually put air in your aquarium, but the movement creates at the top of the water. It creates like a little ripple effect that does create more oxygenation in the water. The more surface area the surface of the water has, the more oxygen can get into the water column. I didn't know fishes were only $6. Yeah, some fishes are really cheap. I think pea are cheap. They were about €3 in Belgium, so 3.5 for US dollars. Here they're $6. But then you have tater, which is different. In Belgium, he was about 50, but in England, I've seen him going up to 300, and here in the US, I see him typically around $200. And then the saltwater fish get even crazier. I mean, some of those fish go for more than 1,000 for sure. And then you have like more specialty stuff too, like some of those award-winning koi's from Japan and stuff will go for over $1 million at auction, which is just crazy. But that's just how that all goes. You can get koi, of course, for a lot cheaper. They just won't be the perfect koi that people see as a perfect koi, like the perfect coloring and all that. So we're gonna skip floating plants because of the reasons I just gave. They don't like high flow, and Tater doesn't really like them either. So no floating plants in Tater's tank. This kind of looks like hornwort. No, it looks more like hornwort. Hornwort is a plant that I was not able to use in Belgium because it's an invasive species and we're not allowed to buy them over there. Here in Ohio, however, we are allowed to buy them. It's a stem plant and does not need to be rooted into the ground. You can technically leave it floating, or some people put weights on them to so they sit up straight like this. You put a weight all the way at the bottom. Put a weight all the way at the bottom right here, and then they'll stand straight up, like any other plant would. Or you can just leave them floating. They grow super fast, which is nice for nitrate removal. So maybe I've always wanted to keep this plant, especially since I was not able to in Belgium. So maybe we'll give that a shot and put some of that in there. This is a Nubius. This is what we technically, well, what we have majority of in Tater's tank right now, except we have a very large leaf species of this. There's a bunch of different kinds of Nubius. More bits. Thank you, Pimi Boy. See, this is a different type of Nubius, more like a long leaf. But it's called a Congo Anubias. That'd be kind of cool to add because it's actually from his area. Not sure if the Congo actually gets down to 5.5. I think 8 pH, 7 to 8 pH is more accurate, but maybe different parts of the Congo have different pHs. That's possible. Let's see. Java moss is a cool plant. We have that in the pea pepper tank, but it does grow out of control. And then little strands in everywhere, and you start growing everywhere. I don't really want to deal with that in Tater's tank. What I've always also wanted to try is an Amazon sword. I think they have that in here as well. I've never kept that plant, but I've always wanted to. Should be an easy plant to keep. They have it in here? I thought they did. Rotala, that can be a nice plant if you have high light and lots of fertilizer. You can see the tips of the leaves turning red. But if your water's not perfect for plants, then they typically are green. But can be a pretty plant that has a lot of red in it. Let's see, Microsorum. I don't see Java sword. Oh, here, Amazon sword. Sorry, not Java sword, Amazon sword. Water trumpet. This kind of looks like a crypt. That is a crypt. Walkeri. Yeah, it's similar to what we have in Tater's tank right now. It's a little bit more bunched up and going straight up versus like spread out like that. Fan out. All right. Let's start with maybe some. Not sure if this is the same as hornwort. They call this one fanwort, but it looks very similar. And I would like to anchor it down. I don't really want anything floating around Tater's tank because, as I mentioned, he doesn't really like touching things too much when he's swimming, and sometimes he gets freaked out by that. So the less floaty things floating around, the better. Preferably none. So these can grow pretty long, so kind of probably fill in the back a little bit of the background. That's maybe a little too large. The piece of wood. Can we kind of stick one in here? Maybe have some hornworth in this corner. Actually, we'll create a little bit different lengths then. It'll look a bit more natural. Because of course then your aquarium are not going to be exactly the same length. Alright, I'll talk to you later, Penny Boy. Thank you for the resub and all the biddies. I'll talk to you later. I might post this to YouTube as well, so if you want, I can send you a link. And you can just watch the rest, or the VOD will be on for, I think Twitch keeps it for like 7 to 14 days or so, so you can always go back in our clip section and watch the rest of it if you want. Let me know if you can't find it, and I'll give you a link. Let's see, Amazon sword. These plants also grow really large, so more a background type of plant. See, it's so big I can't even place it here. We're all on the small side of the scale. No. Maybe we can put like a small one kind of behind this twig. See, it does let me put this in the wood for some reason, but then the glass is a no-go. Maybe have like one larger one that grows like back here or something. No, an Amazon sword, of course, is not from the Congo River, it's from the Amazon in South America. So technically this is not correct for his biotope. But I think it'll be fine. I'm honestly not too educated on all the different plant species and where they come from. So I'm not sure exactly how many options there are actually from the Congo River to use. It might be very limited. I know a lot of the plants come from South America and grow really well in their river systems and stuff. This is more of a carpet plant that people use for foreground, so we don't want that. It needs to be sand for Tater to dig into. This kind of looks similar to the hornworth. This actually looks pretty close to the crypt that we have in Tater's tank. I'm not sure if I've ever heard of this plant species before. Java fern is really easy to keep and doesn't need a whole ton of light. We did have some on Tater's tank, and I did manage to kill it somehow. Not sure how. People always say how easy it is to keep, and ours didn't do so well. Eventually, slowly started dying off. Nubius, however, does do really well in this tank. It's a very, very slow growing plant. Okay, I do want to have some Congo Nubius in here. Just stay with the theme of the Congo River a little bit. Maybe we can put this one in this little corner right here. Kind of break up all the hornworth a little bit, so it's not all the same type of thing back there. Maybe we need some longer stem plants here as well. Something like a hornworth, but different species. I would like to keep Rotala, but I don't think that's really going to be a good idea on Tater's tank. Like I said, it needs a lot of light, and we typically actually keep Tater's tank pretty dim. Just because of like algae issues. If we turn it up a little too, or more than that, then we don't put a lot of algae in the tank. Especially for how long we have the lights on. We typically keep the lights on almost about 12 hours, I think, per day, with sundown and sunset, or sunrise and sunset included. So it kind of slowly ramps up and slowly ramps down to mimic that. Yeah, that's also not going to work. That's going to need a lot of light. Not sure what other plant to use in the right corner right here. We need something kind of fill in that background, something that grows tall, but not outwards, like Amazon swords. I guess Amazon swords can grow pretty tall, but it's also going to go have leaves like that kind of fan out. Whereas hornworth, if we put like a little weight on it, it'll just stay straight up, or whatever the current is, it might curve a little bit. Microswarm, gorgeous decorative plant will grow well, full lit, and penumbra. Its olive green leaves are fancy shapes. Hard. See, that's a plant with a rhizome. Probably something that more that you can stick to wood or rocks, and the roots will attach themselves. Typically, plants with a rhizome, you don't want to cover that with sand or soil. It will end up rotting. It needs a decent amount of water flow to stay healthy. So I mean that could work to stick to like a rock or wood. Actually, let's see if it will let me stick it to. That's way too large. Yeah, it's not letting me do that. Java moss, for example, will let me stick it to rocks and stuff, even though naturally it wouldn't really attach itself to rocks and stuff. Typically, people glue it down with super glue, or use like fishing string to tie it down, and then once it starts growing in, you won't be able to see it. But I don't want to use moss in this tank. Maybe something like eelgrass. This plants from Europe. Invasive species in the wild produces flower stems, but never in an aquarium. I see that's a challenge. Never produces flower stems. maybe you could. Our trumpet. I don't know what the. Well, I guess if we maybe go with the same species of Anubias that we have in Tater's tank right now, they have fairly large leaves. We can kind of fill in the back right there. Give a different texture, and they're a lot more dark green than this one. It looks like the ones we have in Tater's tank right now. They kind of give off the same vibe, same style. So wish I could make it a bit shorter. This is also a rhizome plant, by the way. Can you go back? You can see a rhizome right here. It's the piece that has all the roots coming out of it and the stems for the leaves. So that part you do not want to submerge in sand or soil. The roots can, that's fine. Or if you, with this one also, you can super glue it or tie it to a rock, and eventually the roots will attach itself to the rock or wood as well. I'll just keep growing. And if you want to propagate it, you just snip it off right here somewhere on the rhizome, and that little piece will start growing new leaves, and the whole piece will as well. So that way you can split it up that way and have multiple of them, and they'll just keep growing. It is a very slow growing plant though. Probably one of the slowest ones that I've had, that I've ever kept. Okay, maybe we'll just make a small Nubias. There's smaller species as well, so maybe we can kind of fill in a little bit between the rocks. Still need something taller, I think, back here. Maybe we can put like one or two hornworth back there. Maybe I can try to find a different plant to replace that with that they don't have in the game. Let's see. I'll make it a little bit smaller one there. Yeah, it needs a third one. It looks strange, but only two. So we can rotate it up. That looks more natural. Yeah, I think that's about it. I don't want to make it too complicated or too crowded. The most important part is that he won't really be able to get in here because of all the plant growth. Oh, I need to move that rock. And the same counts for over here. So hopefully he'll do all his digging in the rest of the part of this tank. And knowing him, he'll probably try to hide right here. Out of reach of the camera. But if that becomes an issue, we're going to just put more plants along the backside right here as well. So he stays more on the front side. All right. So yeah, I'll probably have to start looking around for scaping stuff and see how much of it I can replicate this. And Tater's new home will maybe look something hopefully close to this. With plants, you typically can't find very large plants in stores, so they typically have to grow in a bit. But that's fine. I mean, it takes time to sell in an aquarium. And then I guess we can change the sands just to see what black would look like if we change it to black. They also have decorations. I'm not really big on decorations. I guess making a theme tank would be cool. I've actually seen a really cool planted tank that had a Buddha head in the center of it. So I guess I take that back. But I'm not going to do something like that for Tater's tank. I think that'd be cool, kind of in a square tank, maybe with the pea puffers or something. Have like a large statue in the center or something, and kind of make it look like it's overgrown with a bunch of different types of plants around it and mosses. Different color sands. They got colorful, gold, blue, black. Don't really want to mix colors, but if I have to mix, I'll probably pick those two colors. Dark gravel. This is probably going to look more like planted tank soil more than anything. Does change the mood. Now, one thing I do regret, well, don't really regret, I guess we can just change it, but on Tater's current tank, we paint the back wall, and this panel we painted black, so no light shines through it. You can't really see the wall and stuff. I prefer that than versus being able to see directly through and seeing a wall. If it was a tank on an island like this, I probably wouldn't do that because it's really cool to see from this side as well. But most people keep tanks against the wall, and so do we. So, but we have dark substrate in Tater's tank and paint the walls black. But that was when we still had white sand in this tank, so it wasn't that big of an issue because the white reflected enough light around the tank that it wasn't so dark. But with the really dark substrate and painted all the glass panels black, it became really dark. So if we're going with a darker substrate, I would probably do like a lighter tint of blue, like maybe like a really light blue that's almost white, and paint the glass panels with that instead. Or it could also be cool maybe to get a background or something for the tank, but those are typically pretty expensive. And now we'll still have to do something with this panel since there'll be a camera right here, and I should be able to see straight through and see me taking naps in the background or something, or whatever is behind the tank. Okay, so that's what black sand looks like. Go back to the clay. I feel like this gives a more natural vibe, like a more natural look to it. This looks a little bit, I don't know. Maybe going with like a dark brown substrate this time versus the black substrate we have right now in Tater's tank. It'll be a very fine dark brown sand. Sand is well, probably the only thing really that would be good for Tater to dig into. Blend substrate would create a mess, and I guess he would be able to dig into it, and it's not jagged or hard. It just would cloud the tank up really bad. So you don't want to plant the tank soil. Fine sand. The bigger the grain size and the more gravel becomes, the harder it is for him to dig into, and possibility of the sand having sharp edges and stuff. So we want to try to avoid that. Thanks. Tater's tank is coming together. Light gravel. See, I mean, the color maybe, but that size grain is too large. Well, I guess this picture looks the same. You really want like sand that you would find in a pool filter or in play boxes. like sand play boxes for kids, or well, depending on the beach, of course. But some beaches have fine sand as well. That's the type of sand that you want. It's gonna probably look more like. I guess you can't really see texture that well in this picture. All right. I prefer the dark substrate though for a black substrate. Other things we can add. The heater will probably be in line. And these are in-tank heaters that you kind of place like on the side right here, that most fish keepers have. In a tank like this, if I'm going to have an external filter, I like to put the heater on on the inlet pipe, so it'll be on the hose. So it's external out of the tank, so it doesn't clutter. You won't be able to see it. So it makes for an overall cleaner look. So we're not going to add that. This is for the game itself. We're not going to mess with that too much, but I think you start with like a 7.0 pH in this game, and then depending on the fish, if you're going like Amazon fish, you want to lower the pH a bit, like a betta fish or Amazon cichlids. And then hardier fish, well, not hardier, but fish that live in harder water, like the Congo River or Lake Tanganyika, Lake Malawi, African cichlids live there. They would require a higher pH. So in the game itself, to make the fish happy, you can lower and raise it, which is pretty cool. At the end of that, you can change the color of the silicone. Tater's new tank is clear. Actually, you can change that because, yep. Tater's tank does have a plastic trim piece around down the top and on the bottom. So it doesn't look exactly like this. The lid I'm gonna make myself out of corrugated, actually, do you call it corrugated? I forgot the name of it. I think it's corrugated. I believe it's a polyurethane. No, it's not polyurethane. It's a type of plastic that has ridges in between. It's like 2 layers, and it's clear. And they use it for like greenhouses, typically for like the walls or ceilings for like smaller sheds. But it's really easy to work with because it's made out of plastic. It's waterproof, which is good because it's going to have a lot of condensation. So we're going to make the lid ourselves out of that type of plastic. But for the sake for right now, oh, actually no. And the light, I'm not sure what I'm going to do for lighting yet on Tater's tank. Right now we have a light that kind of looks like this. Oh, I guess I can change the color on it. Let's create like a warmer, a little bit of warm color. Kind of match Tater's orange. We have a similar light to this, except it's just more flat. That goes all the way across. It's a lot skinnier. It's not as wide as this. I might. Oh, so easy to change rocks in here if you're just scrolling around. Depending what we do typically grow like different tropical plants out of the tank to help with nitrates. Or we could grow technically veggies out of the top of that tank as well in like a planter box, and then have water circulate through. Nafru knows how to do all that. He's pretty smart. He explained to me. We went over some things, and that might be something to do to grow some veggies at home and also help with the water quality of Tater's tank. But in that case, I probably want some lights that hang from the ceiling, so that way the plants above the tank can also have light first, and in the tank as well. Something like this would only, like this part right here, would only give light into the tank, but not much to the plants that grow out of the water. So those are some things I still have to figure out and see what we want to do with that. But yeah, nope, not sure what happened there. Skip some frames. But yeah, I think this kind of sums it up for Tater's tank. You'll still have majority of the space to dig into the sand. I guess enough space for plants to grow to help with the water quality. Plants soak up nitrates, which is one of the byproducts. Well, not sure that I'm explaining that right. You have the nitrogen cycle, and fish food and fish waste will break down into ammonia, and there's a bacteria that will, I guess, feed off the ammonia and convert it into nitrite, and then another bacteria that converts it to nitrates. And ammonia is the most toxic for fish, and then nitrite, and then nitrates. So you definitely don't want ammonia and nitrates in your tank. Nitrates are tolerable, uh, but the less the better. We typically shoot for about 20 ppm, which is parts per million, in Tater's tank. Per photo, well, don't have to go like down to zero because the plants need it as well. But between 10 and 20, I would say is definitely good water quality. You can like go up a little bit higher to like 40 ppm. But the plants help with, they actually use the nitrates for food source. So the more plants you have, typically helps with keeping those nitrates lower, and that means less water changes. Because the only other way to take it out of the water is by changing the water. So that means draining the water, vacuuming, cleaning a bit, and then put water back in with a dechlorinator. So removes the chlorine from the water, because that's also not good. And most tap water around the world has chlorine in it. Yeah, I figured I'll explain a little bit here how it all works, fish keeping. I feel like a lot of people think it's very simple, and I mean it's not hard, but there's some things you need to know to keep your fish healthy that I feel like a lot of people just don't know, and sadly, not all people at the fish stores or especially chain stores will give you all the information, and that leads to bad fish keeping, which well, I guess it's not per se one person's fault, but the more people are educated, I think the better for the fishies around the world. Um, there's definitely some things that if you want to keep fish, learn the nitrite or the nitrogen cycle, so ammonia, nitrites, and nitrates. Learn a little bit about pH, about especially keeping a tank stable, because some fish don't like big swings in water parameters, and pHs is how acidic or how alkaline the water is. And I mean that's a good start for stuff you need to know to keep fish and important things to keep in mind. So yeah, I think this sums it up. We'll have to go to the store and find rocks and wood that I can create something like this with, and find the plants that we're going to use. I definitely want to keep the hornworth that I was talking about, and then I think this was the Congo Anubias that we put over there. Congo Anubias. Which one was it? This one, yeah. Do want to keep that. I guess I'll do some research and see how much light and stuff it needs. Amazon sword should work fine in this tank as well. Never kept them, but they're fairly easy plants. Anubias, very easy plant. The only way you can really kill this is by letting algae just take over the plant, because it's very slow growing, and then it will starve it out of light, but they don't really need much light to begin with. And then I also need to find a good color of sand. That might be the hardest part, because depending on where you are, finding different colors of sand can be hard. So I have to find something and see if I can find something that matches this or gets close to it. So yeah, I think that's it for today. Today is, by the way, World Reef Day. Oh, I did not know that. Well, perfect time. Even though this is not a reef, this is freshwater. It is very important for the earth to keep the reefs healthy, and they're beautiful. Lots of biodiversity. All right. Let's see. What time is it in Belgium now? 9:30. Yeah, probably will keep Tater's stream off for tonight since his lights will only be on for like an hour and a half, and then it'll turn off. So I'll just end it up early today, and then we'll start it back up tomorrow morning. And then I might make some videos about this, and we can keep it updated. Maybe we can even do a live stream with scaping it in real time. I'll have to see if I'll be able to set that up with cameras and everything and see if that's possible here. I'll let you guys know. And let's see if we can rate somebody. Oh, if it is Reef Day, I feel like rating somebody that keeps a reef is. Okay. We're gonna rate Rams Reef. He keeps a couple. I'm not sure actually how many tanks he has, but he keeps a couple coral reef aquariums with lots of beautiful coral and tropical saltwater fish. So we'll go ahead and rate him. All right, thanks everyone. Thanks for joining in, and Tater will be back tomorrow morning, and hopefully we can do some more content with this tank and kind of give you guys more behind the scene perspective to what we all do to keep the pufferfish healthy and happy. All right, enjoy your day.